Thanks, Tracy. Hi, everyone. This is Chris Richardson here. Give our other leaders a minute to join. So we are here for the Connecting Education and Learning portion of the conference. And so hopefully you'll enjoy this just as much as this amazing content all day. We'll try to keep the digital equity side forefront here. I do have a little bit of background in education. I've been at ASU coming up on 7 years now as a WCIO. I also was in a unique role that Dr. Crow and Lev Gonick made happen, where for the last 6 months, I was the CIO at the Arizona Department of Education on a secondment. So amazing experience there. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this panel has to offer here. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to the panel to just do a quick minute introduction of themselves. And why don't we start with you, Mayor Woods? Please give an overview of yourself.
Well, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm Corey Woods. I'm the mayor of the city of Tempe since July of 2020. So all 18 months served during a very interesting pandemic that we're all living through. I also happen to be the chief of staff at ASU Preparatory Academy. So I'm a Sun Devil as well. I have my master's there too. So really excited to be here and excited to be with the other panelists. And thank you everyone for joining virtually.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's jump over to you, Dr. Lippert.
Well, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start by apologizing a little bit. I have a cold, so if my voice cuts out, I apologize in advance. But I counted it up this morning. I am going on 30 years in education. Started as a science teacher, both middle and high school. Went on to become an assistant principal and principal here in Phoenix, Arizona. For 8 years, I was the principal. And then I went on to the Arizona Department of Education, where I was an associate superintendent, just overseeing basically anything having to do with academic standards. And now I'm at Grand Canyon University, where I'm an assistant vice president, working in our division that's all about K-12 outreach and support. And super excited to be here to talk to this great panel today.
Great, thank you. And on to you, Dr. Mack.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janice Mack, and as of 2 weeks ago, I was on the State Board of Education and a K-12 science curriculum specialist in Paradise Valley Unified School District. I just made the transition to Arizona State University, working on a few grants here. So we're shifting from practitioner to researcher, but still looking at digital equity and the digital divide through a research lens.
Great. Well, hopefully you all enjoy this amazing panel. And please, as you've been throughout the morning and into the afternoon, don't be shy. Add your questions that you'd like to see, and maybe we can answer them asynchronously as well. We do have some prepared remarks for the next 25-ish or so minutes. All right, so the first question, again, given the theme you've heard today on digital equity, just want to know what the panel thinks of that from each of your respective spots within education, as well as how you see the ecosystem bringing that forward. I know partnerships, Dr. Crow was very big on the partnerships in the beginning, as he is in very strong ways. So why don't we start with you, Dr. Mack, on that topic?
Yeah, so I think partnerships are absolutely key. So during the year of the pandemic, Superintendent Hoffman had a vision to convene a tech task force, combining stakeholders from philanthropy, from higher ed, from K-12, from industry, and from the Department of Ed. And as a result of that, you can see Chris Richardson was at the department for the half year enacting the first part of this plan, statewide plan, which was to launch an office for digital teaching and learning at the department. And I'm really excited to share that they've just launched their opportunity assessment. They're analyzing that data. And this is like a hub to really convene and identify those resources and allocating and prioritizing initiatives that can be used to support districts, because I said, and LEAs throughout the state, because as all the panelists have shared, every situation is unique, every community is unique. There is the need for not only devices, not only connectivity, but the capacity building, those skills and those resources, and to make sure that there is opportunity and access no matter wherever we are throughout our diverse states. So.
Great, thanks for that. And I did see a few familiar faces from the Department of Education in there. Kelly is one. If you want to put some information in the channel, please do so. Either one else want to talk about from your perspective on kind of how you see digital equity and education and learning before we move on?
I mean, I would love to just jump in. I mean, I think that this last couple of years with the pandemic has really brought to light how much that equity is an issue amongst our students. And I think we're seeing it now as students are beginning to come back to school. And what I'm hearing from schools is just, you know, the vast disparity in terms of what kind of educational experience students were having while they were at home. And to Janice's point, I think partnerships absolutely are key in this. And one of the groups I think I would highlight, definitely worked with the Department of Ed, is the School Connect Arizona, where they were able to work with businesses and faith leaders to bring devices into the hands of students and to bring hotspots into schools so that we are able to bring more digital equity to our schools and districts. But that's one example, and I just think there's so much opportunity, particularly with all the people on this call and as well as all the different business leaders, to really think through how we can best as a state in Arizona support digital equity across Arizona, not just in Phoenix, but in our rural areas as well. So again, Janice, I agree. I think partnerships are going to absolutely be the key to make that happen.
Mayor Woods, anything to close on that question?
Sure. I would probably refer even less to my experience as mayor and even more so to my experience working for ASU Prep Academy. So I work directly for Julie Young, who's a VP at Educational Outreach and Student Services, and who's the managing director of ASU Prep and ASU Prep Digital. And we really were, I believe, on the forefront of a lot of addressing issues with digital equity, especially during the pandemic. One of the biggest challenges that happened when COVID-19 sort of took over not just this country, but the entire world, was a lot of school districts had a real challenge transitioning from sort of in-person learning to this sort of virtual environment. We were fortunate enough to have people who were kind of pioneers in putting together those virtual learning environments to reach students of all different backgrounds and all different corners of not only the state of Arizona, but the entire country and the entire world. And so it really, I believe the virtual learning opportunities that we're providing at ASU Prep and a lot of organizations that are doing very much similar things is really helping to bridge that digital divide and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to a high quality education and to achieve success in whatever area they'd like to achieve success in.
That's a great point. So today's focus for the Smart Region event has been digital equity, but I think, a smart mindset is that itself. It's a mindset and it's a way of looking at things differently. Maybe let's talk about new ways of innovation you're all seeing from your perspectives in education and learning, things you think would be relevant for this audience. And why don't we start with you, Mayor Woods?
Sure. So one of the things I can talk about is even a lot of the stuff that's going on in the city of Tempe right now. So we have a program that really is focused on kindergarten readiness with the Tempe Pre-Initiative, which is really to expand preschool access, and another program called Helping Us Grow, which of course is a great acronym of HUG, which provides books to underrepresented families with preschoolers so they can build their home libraries. One of the things that I did as a child was that I started reading at the age of 3, and my mother frankly wanted to encourage me to read, but she also had the resources to do so. So she bought me this whole series of books that were all these classics, but they were of course children's adaptations with pictures in bigger print. But that really got me interested when I was reading things like Moby Dick and The Count of Monte Cristo and all of the works of Edgar Allan Poe. A lot of people don't have the ability to build those libraries, but these programs will give people that opportunity. We have a partnership with AARP for their Experience Core program, which is a literacy tutoring program for students grades ages 1 through 3. And it also pairs adults with struggling readers. So one of the things I tell people, if there's anyone watching right now who's retired or has some time and wants to help a student who's trying to learn how to read or who might be struggling with picking it up, we would love to have you join the city of Tempe and AARP and kind of administering this program. And I just say lastly too, we obviously the state of Arizona has an Achieve 60 initiative. The city of Tempe adopted something called Achieve 65. I was actually, when I was off the council for 4 years, I was part of the ASU delegation that was lobbying the city council to go higher and above what the state requirements were. And I'm very pleased to report that we have, and we're working very hard to connect students to all the opportunities they can possibly get. So it's so a lot of really great things going on in the city of Tempe and a lot of great work that we're all doing in this area.
Way to overachieve there. Carol, Janice, more innovative ideas to share that you've seen from your perspectives?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So one of the things that I think has been a pretty innovative effort of Grand Canyon University, and I put the link to the website in there, is something called Canyon Ventures that we've implemented at Grand Canyon. And I just wanted to highlight it because I think that the innovation behind it, in my mind, is really a neat way of looking at business and entrepreneurship from a couple of different lenses. One, it supports startups, new startups. So if somebody has an idea for a new business, they come, they apply with Canyon Ventures, and we help to back them for them to start up their business. And part of the agreement is we do that backing, but then that business, when it's ready to take flight and get off on its own, it agrees to stay in the local neighborhood and to help to bring jobs and to help to bring opportunity in the area surrounding Grand Canyon. The other thing that has been amazing about this is some of our ventures are ventures that are started by our students who just have a really good idea and they want to sell that idea and kind of build a business from that. So some of them are building businesses before they ever even graduate from Grand Canyon and are ready right as they step out the door to begin their new career with their business. And then the other thing is the agreement is that they hire some of our Grand Canyon University students so that students can get in, they can see what it's like to be an entrepreneur, they can see what it's like to be running a business, they can gain actual job skills, which I think in the long run helps them to make sure that they're choosing a career and a career pathway while they're in college that is actually going to dovetail with where their interests are. You know how we all did that, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but I started off in college thinking I was going to be a pharmacist. Well, you can see I did not end up being a pharmacist, right? Got a job at Walgreens and realized, oh my, I don't really want to be doing this for the rest of my life, right? And then I realized I was like, well, what do you enjoy? And that's how I ended up with teaching. But I think it's a great opportunity. And so I love the venture idea because one, they get paid, which is really cool, right? They got opportunity, they get job experience, and we build businesses in our local community, which then helps to support that local community economically. So just I think a great innovation that was the brainchild of Grand Canyon that I wanted to share as an opportunity that maybe could be modeled elsewhere as well.
Well, that's amazing. So going to the K-12 district, I think we are really redefining what engagement means and thinking beyond what it means to have a physical presence in a classroom. And so I think we've seen new models come out. We've got hybrid, we've got flipped, we've got all of that. And all of that has actually been around, but it's actually being implemented in very different and new and innovative ways. I think the other thing it's opened up is really taking down the walls of those classrooms. It's giving opportunities actually for many to spend a long, more part of their day outdoors, outdoor education. Right. And the other part is, for example, Zooming or Skyping with experts and really bringing the experts into the classroom and thinking about that student engagement in new and innovative ways that maybe were not around before. So.
And just a quick, go ahead.
I was just going to build upon what Janice said. I think that's such a good point from K-12, and the fact that, like, I think now students have this access to a global community that they didn't have prior to increasing digital awareness. So would you agree with that, Janice?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And along with that, to build that student capacity is also at the same time taking care of the teachers. And I think right now, I just would be remiss if I didn't mention that the teachers right now need our support. And I think ADE has done some incredible work around this area to support educators and keeping mental health, keeping wellness, keeping providing resources, a community to support educators taking care of themselves, but taking care of one another so that we as a community can take care of our kids. And the other piece I would just mention is the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning that we mentioned earlier. Chris should really be sharing this, but they have office hours every Friday to build that community of support. And really, I think really now more than ever, we need to listen. We need to be listening to our community, listening to our parents, listening to our students. What has gone well? What isn't going well? What's still challenging? We are not over this. And this is just the beginning. And I think we need to ongoing be diagnosing and be adjusting and monitoring as we go along. So.
Well, the panel can prompt themselves. Normally that happens when you're in person, but nice work. Just a quick reminder to the audience, we would love any questions. We can answer them asynchronously as well. So quick reminder. So last question, and then we'll do takeaways. We'll start with Dr. Lippert on this one. If you had one wish or something that if someone in the audience could take away and potentially make happen that would help you on your progress towards meeting education and learning goals, what would that be? How can we help?
narrowing that to one thing. I don't know, but thank goodness there's three of us, so you'll get to hear three one things. But I just really recently have been thinking a lot about pipeline and a lot about opportunities for kids pre-K all the way through post-secondary, and thinking about what kinds of opportunities can we as a community bring to the table that help to support students and teachers too, as they begin to move through the system of education, to help them to really envision what their future can be. And I've been working, and it's been really cool. I've been working with the Greater Phoenix Leadership Group, and they've got an initiative for Latino students to help them begin to envision, where can you be? Where can you be when you grow up, right? And I see it as a great pipeline initiative where we're just helping students to see someone like them and see kind of all that they can accomplish and all that they can be. And I think it definitely goes to the Canyon Ventures that I brought up earlier, but I think it goes beyond that to mentors. It's what Corey talked about, retirees coming in and working with students to help them to see broader and bigger opportunities. And I think this group that's here today could be a great resource for something like that, relative to K all the way through post-secondary, is to think about how can you lean into these needs at schools to help students see what their future can be, and to envision a really grand future here in Arizona. So I think that would be that's my current wish anyway. So I'm interested to hear what the other panelists say.
Mayor Woods? Oh, go ahead, Janice.
Sorry, I just piggyback off of Carol just because I think the one thing that I would say is to recognize the uniqueness of everyone's journey with learners through the pandemic. And so to Carol's point, I think not to lose sight of that as we're dealing with, larger systemic issues, is not to lose sight of the individual and the uniqueness of each one's journey and what we're all facing. So, and
I was going to say exactly that too. So apparently we're all the same exact wavelength. I mean, every person is coming to, an environment with their own intellectual capital, their own culture, their own experiences. And I just think it's critically important, as we talk about trying to address the digital divide and create more digital equity, that we talk about making sure that as we deliver these systems, we're still kind of keeping the individuality of the learner at the forefront, because how I learn may be different than how someone else has learned. So I really think that is critically important. And so I completely agree with both Carol and Janice. That was exactly where I was going to go too.
This one's putting people on the spot a little bit, but anything that you've seen that actually helps do that and bring the individual learning nuances out. Anyone want to comment on that, what you're seeing working?
I think it's largely cultural in an organization. I mean, it's something, once again, kind of cite ASU Prep Academy. It's something that we talk about each and every day within our organization, is about how we really are here to focus on the individual needs of each learner. And so I think that starts from the top down. That's something that my boss, Julie Young, talks about on a regular basis. And so it's something that, from me in the administration down to all of our teachers at each of our campuses and our teachers who are teaching virtually across the world, I think it really starts there from that cultural standpoint. If you're not talking about that as one of your values within your organization, I think you're likely to fall into this mentality where it becomes more adult-centric and about, well, what makes me comfortable and what's easiest for me. But when you really kind of put the student at the forefront of every decision that you make, and you recognize that everyone's coming into everything with their own kind of individual personalized experience, I think you can actually make learning and bridging this divide as best as you possibly can. So quite honestly, I think really, though, it starts from the top down, and you have to talk about it on a consistent basis, and also make sure that you're bringing various voices to the table who are coming in from different perspectives to frankly advise you so you can continue to grow and to progress.
And Corey, 100% agree with you. And I think that also comes from, again, leadership having an asset-based view of different people coming to the table, right? That you're looking at everyone that's coming in with something that they can provide that maybe is a little bit different in terms of supporting students and to really helping them to achieve that personal learning goal. But in answer to your initial question, Chris, I think there's a couple of things that I have seen come really to the forefront that has helped with this. One, there's a ton of new technology tools that help teachers be able to manage personalized learning. So, we have adaptive testing, we have different technologies that help students to really say, here's where I'm at and here's where I need to be, so that the teacher doesn't have to it's just hard to manage that in a classroom. You have 35 kids sitting in front of you, right, to make it personalized for them. So having the technologies available to them to support that, I think, is essential. And then the other thing that I'm seeing a lot more of are things like project and problem-based learning, inquiry-based learning in classrooms, which allows students to kind of say, what am I interested in? And how do I then take that problem, develop a solution for that that's still aligned to standards and all of those good things, but allows students to be innovative in their own learning and to really begin to start directing their own learning. So then the teacher can become more of that mentor on the side that's sort of guiding and facilitating the learning, but allowing students to explore and get excited about learning new materials. So I think that's another piece to that.
I don't have too much to add, except that I'll just say I agree with everything that's been said, and I think personalized learning is at the heart of everything. And I would just say voice and choice. And so empowering the community to bring their voices, as Mayor Wood said, to the table, messaging that everyone matters, and really getting out there. And it reminds me of early on in the pandemic where we hand-delivered hotspots to our homeless students. We made home visits to those that we didn't see online in Google Classroom. Nothing replaces that personal touch and understanding that everybody really does matter in the community.
Well, I did promise this group in prep. I said this audience is normally very question centric, and we'll ask a couple. So I'm going to have to kind of wing a couple of our backups coming up here in a second, if we don't get one. But I will say this: any final takeaways from your perspective, education, learning, where we're going? Kind of the quick round. Let's see. Looks like Dr. Lippert's ready.
Decide who's going first, but I'm never at a loss for words. So I think final takeaways is that I think it's just going to take all of us, and it's going to take all of us being really creative and thinking of new ways to approach education so that we can best support our students. And I think that's what I loved about when you asked if I would participate in this. I was like, yes, I want to think about innovative ways to think about education and how we can best serve our students and how we can really keep, as Corey said, keep students front and center as we innovate, and allowing students to have some input and insight into what that's going to look like, I think, is essential.
Janice or Corey?
Yeah, I would just echo that. I think we've seen throughout the day that there's just multiple conditions, multiple vehicles that need to work together to create these conditions where everyone can thrive, every citizen, every family, every student. And so I think my final thought is this is a work in progress. We are not done, and let's keep listening to one another. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll get there.
I guess my big takeaway, probably take it in a somewhat different direction, what I would really love to see, and I think that the pandemic showed us that we have a real desperate need for, is high-speed Wi-Fi with lots of capacity in pretty much every corner of this country. A lot of us found out when we were at home, and so I live alone. So for me, there was never an issue with the Wi-Fi. But for a lot of folks where there were, a couple of folks in the house, maybe 2 or 3 kids, and everyone's on the Wi-Fi at the same time while kids are trying to learn to log into their digital learning options, how things got very bogged down at times. So when I think about, something that I really would love to see moving forward is how can we create more partnerships to bring Wi-Fi to underserved communities? And frankly, how can we expand it not only citywide here in Tempe, but across the entire state of Arizona? Because I think as we can see from now, a lot of students are going to be continuing to take part in in-person learning, but that virtual learning environment is going to be a huge component of what they do moving forward. So I think having the capacity to have that high-speed Wi-Fi everywhere is going to be critical moving forward in terms of addressing equity issues.
That's a great point. A lot of the same theme from this morning. Thanks for that, Mayor Woods. So we do have questions from a familiar face, Jerry. Jerry Holton. Thanks for asking. He says, I would be an advocate of education that gets a very entrepreneurial approach, create new businesses that use broadband infrastructure. I would transition to teaching students to work with robots and work alongside robots, because that is the future they face. And I'm guessing it also scales a little bit more. He's just curious, do you all agree? And I see Carol already weighing in, so thank you. Thoughts on leveraging robots for assisting the education process? Or are you seeing it already?
Well, I've definitely, I myself have worked with students with robots. And so we've had robots in the classroom. I'm actually coaching my son's robotics team right now. So I think I definitely agree. I think at the heart of it, though, is really about computer science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of this is so essential right now and into the future for students to not only be consumers of technology, but big creators of technology. And I think at stake here, again, is an equity piece. Like, we need to make sure that we are being equitable in the opportunities that we're affording, in the access that kids have to computer science and programming and all these robotics experiences, because it does have implications, again, for who is creating this, the technologies that will be used in the future, whether it's an app, whether it's adaptive technologies, whatever it is. So I think definitely agree. Yeah.
I'll say from my experience, I know I'm not one of the guests here, but robots can assist in, when Carol was talking earlier about career transitions, many people don't know, but I actually have a master's in teaching. I was going to be a K-12 educator. And I know that it's very difficult for teaching to scale. We also saw that with the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning early in the results, as things that can help the 700 plus entities that serve our 1.1 million public school students, that they do need things that scale, and whether robots are the answer, or as Dr. Lippert mentioned, tools that facilitate scale with teaching, that's technically a robot in itself too, if the tool helps scale. So that's a little bit of my vote. Okay, so great. So it sounds like we're getting quite a few some additional resources to pay attention to, and I think we're wrapping up. Any last question that we would like to hear from our panel? Let's see. Team, if I start doing the transition to the next group, are they here?
Standing by, Chris. Just toss it to Dom.
All right, I figured. All right, well, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dom Papa in just a second. And before I do, I just want to make sure that everyone thanks this great group, Dr. Carol Lippert, Dr. Janice Mack, and Mayor Corey Woods at Tempe. Thanks for joining us. It's been amazing. Appreciate all the help in preparing, and look forward to more that you all do in prioritizing connection between education and learning as we build smarter communities.